A lot of you are familiar with the work we've done so far on the bot framework service, particularly on my blog. This has been referenced quite a bit in the Rewst Discord since I have posted it. This contains information on creating bot framework services, interacting with it, what kind of post requests you need to send and receive messages, sending proactive messages like DMs to people, and then packaging the bot up to have it imported into your team's tenant. One of the more complicated parts to get going is actually creating the bot framework and gluing everything together. And Rewst is fantastic at gluing things together. So recently, Microsoft started to deprovision their webhook sending, and they kind of changed their mind and pushed it back a little bit, but it will be coming. So they do recommend that you move over to this bot framework. What I've done to make this easier for everyone is created a workflow that provisions everything you need for you. I will be dropping a link to my blog and giving this workflow away to whoever wants it. If you guys do want more built out besides just the bot framework service itself, we can help you with that, but I will focus on the workflow today. But as of now, you will find a link to install the workflow into your tenant in the workflow forum, and the link to our website totally blew up the image there, so I'll have to fix that later. But anyway, how does this work? When you are wanting to provision a service in Azure, you have to do a few things. And specifically for the bot framework, you need to always start out with an app registration of a specific kind. So we're going to need a bit of information up front. We're going to need an endpoint URL for the webhook to receive the post out of the bot framework. We're going to need a name for it, a subscription ID, and a resource group ID. So we're going to start off with that information and get some information on the 365 tenant to make the app registration. Once we have that, which is just the tenant ID, we can actually send a post request out to a graph endpoint to make a new application. Pretty easy. We are sending a JSON body that says we want to set the display name to whatever the name of our bot's going to be, and then the sign-in audience is Azure AD multiple orgs. This allows you to import the bot as an application through Teams, not only to your own tenant, but extend to your customers' tenants as well if you want to give them the ability to send your bot messages later on as a feature of it. Once we have an app registration, we're going to get the ID of that, and then we're going to actually create the bot service. Azure Resource Manager has some pretty cool ways to template out creating your resources. So we have that set up here. We're going to go ahead and send a put request to the subscriptions endpoint with the subscription ID we're putting in, with the resource group we selected, and then for the provider, Microsoft Resource Manager, deployments, and then resource name. So basically, hey, in the subscription, in this resource group, we want to deploy a new resource with this name. We need to give a little more information about what exactly we want. So we're sending some raw JSON here. We're sending some properties as far as the template we have, but we're going to go ahead and set the parameter for the bot service name. Default value is a resource name. And then on the resources, we're going to set the kind Azure bot. We're going to provision this with the free tier. Vast majority of what you guys do is going to be fine under free. Biggest benefit to going to the premium tier is getting an SLA on your bot. But if you don't need that, you're going to be fine with the free tier. So we're provisioning it just by default to F0 in the global location. This is a globally available service. Display name is going to be this default parameter we set earlier up here. The endpoint is going to be the endpoint URL we plug in. App registration ID is going to be the one we created up here. App type, multi-tenant, since that's the kind of app we created. And then we have the tenant ID as the tenant ID we selected earlier as well. The rest of the stuff is just things that it needs to actually provision that bot. Once we make it, this isn't actually going to give us a success or failure on the deployment. It's just going to say, hey, Azure, I want you to make this. So we have another step. We're going to say, okay, we've shot it out into the void of the internet, and now we need to make sure that it's going to actually do what we asked for. So this is going to then pull every 30 seconds to say, hey, on this subscription, on this resource group, on this ID, run a get on it and tell us where we're at here. If the response for the provisioning state is success, we'll move on. If it's failed, we'll go straight to our fail path. I've fallen and I can't get up. And then it goes into our client error reporter. If you import this into your tenant, you will see that this is replaced with the no-op that says insert your error reporter here. These do go directly to our service desk. So as much as I want to give everyone free support, I don't think my business partners would be very happy if I did so. We also have a failure handler for if the actual poll fails. And if we get any sort of status that indicates it's in progress, so in progress, running, or accepted, we're going to say, hey, this is still going. It hasn't failed yet, but it doesn't exist yet. So we're going to wait 30 seconds. We're going to try again. We don't want to just perpetually spam Rewst with executions. Please don't do that. They do get very mad if you do so, especially on purpose. So what we have is a few retry logic here. So we're going to go ahead and check on this wait. Do we have less than the max amount of retries remaining, which is 5? If we do, then we're going to set that retries to retries plus 1, try again. If we exceed that, so greater than 4, probably do greater than equal, but same thing. We're going to go ahead and take our fail route because it has provisioned within 2.5 minutes, which should be long enough. But once we do have it done, we're going to send notification out via email, and then we're going to end. So I want to make this even easier for you guys, so there's a form too. There is some requirements on the name. You can't have any spaces in it, just dash or underscore. You have to have a URL, and these are dynamic option generators. If you're not familiar with how option generators work, basically you're going to get a list of objects. I'm doing some custom list comprehension to make different objects here for label and ID, but basically for subscription, a lookup of subscriptions, if it's enabled, show it. Same thing for resource groups. And the Teams thing is in the way. Resource groups. We're going to go ahead and look for the subscription that we pick on the last step, and then we're going to get a list, label, and ID. So altogether, we're going to pray the demo gods are correct and provision this. To show there's no tricks, here's my resource group. There is our existing ZenTop bot. There's nothing else there, though. Someone give me a name to name our bot. Just shout it out. An appropriate name, preferably.
Goots.
Goots bot. Our endpoint URL, I don't have a master workflow ready to go, so I'll just put it in a webhook.site. We're going to go ahead and select our Microsoft Partner subscription here, which gives us some free credits, and then we're going to select our ZenTop bot. And then we're going to submit. Let's go ahead and drag our execution over here. Perfect. So we got the tenant information, we created an app registration, we've sent the request out to make the bot service, and now we're going to wait. So we see that the response on GootSpot is still running. So we're just going to hang tight for about 30 seconds. We're going to check again. How's everyone days going? This is known as a Microsoft Minute.
Oh no.
Typically it's done within 30 seconds, so you'll see this wait occur once, and then it'll recheck, and then we'll go forward. It always takes a lot longer when you're staring at it. So the wait's finished. We're going to go ahead and pull again. Perfect. So we've successfully provisioned our bot. We're going to send the notification, and then in my emails, I should have one saying Goots is provisioned. Let's go ahead and check. The front-end UI doesn't always update right away. But cool, there we are. There's GootSpot. So we can see Goots has been provisioned. Resource group subscription is all set to go. The provisioning tier for pricing is correct, and we've already inserted our messaging endpoint. So at this point, you're ready to go. You can start sending messages to it, and it'll start sending it out to your bot. My inbound email is apparently a little bit delayed, but I have one ready for when I tested this earlier to make sure it would actually work on the call. And you'll get this email when it's done, saying your bot service is ready to go. Here's the name of the resource. Here's where it got provisioned. And then if you are so kind as to give us a look over once you are happy with the results, there's a link to our website. And it just came in. Here's GootSpot.